So there's something I want to address, and it's actually about traveling. Yes, traveling. So if you had no financial responsibilities whatsoever, what is the one thing you'll do with your free time?
I think I would just travel around the world.
Enjoy my life.
Okay.
Traveling.
Also traveling.
Just to travel.
Why?
Maybe learn like new things. Like for example, Shaolin Kung Fu in China, or like yoga in India, or Muay Thai in Thailand.
Yeah, same, but I would also try to learn more languages because also now in China, I would try to practice my Chinese.
I like to eat something local food or something beautiful location.
I think this is the era when I can just immerse myself in it.
Traveling is arguably one of the most sought-after luxuries for people worldwide. You get to learn about new cultures, try new foods, discover new hobbies, and even learn new languages. However, traveling isn't all glitz and glamour. In this video, I'll teach you about one of the dark sides of traveling. Thanks to the invention of airplanes by the Wright brothers, traveling has become more accessible, resulting in skyrocketing world travel trends. And since social media has become one of the most prominent forms of communication nowadays, everyone's lives are glorified, and we often get to see their best moments, igniting that internal feeling of FOMO, but also that eagerness to have those highlights of your own. So what do people do? Travel more. With over 7,000 languages spoken worldwide, most people will probably think the hardest part of traveling is the language barriers, or the culture shock, or maybe even those brutal TSA lines. But behind all those photos and short clips is a much greater story. The truth is, the hardest part about travel is the loneliness. And I'm going through that exact experience right now. So you guys are probably like, hold on, wait, Trey. How could you possibly be lonely in a country full of 1.4 billion people in a city with 25 million people? Well, let me tell you. Most of my classmates' friends have either graduated or gone back home, and I have very minimal contact with any of my friends back in the States. And with the network of people and relationships that I've built over the past several months, each of them have their own goals that they work towards, which keeps them busy. I don't think people realize how difficult it is to maintain cross-border relationships, and I think that's one of the hardest things about being a world traveler or spending a long time overseas, where you don't usually see the people you know often, and even when you do go back home, those friendships that you made overseas are super hard to keep and maintain. But I guess that's one of the sacrifices you have to make if you decide to travel abroad. So you're probably wondering, how do you build friendships overseas? Well, aside from school activities and on-campus events, I often attend different workshops around Shanghai. I even frequent an entrepreneur-based weekly meeting in which different founders present topics about business ideas or important current business trends. So I've been joining events like these in order to meet new people, make new friends, and build a stronger network. I should point out that there's a big difference between short-term vacations and traveling rather than that nomadic or expat lifestyle. Short vacations are very romanticized, which they can be. However, it's very different when it comes to actually living in another city abroad. Most people who choose to live the nomadic lifestyle also show only the glory of it. But I have a friend who lived this nomadic lifestyle, not by choice, but who was raised in it. His name is Adam, and here's his story. What is your name and where are you from?
So my name's Adam. I'm 22 years old. As far as where I'm from, by nationality, I'm from France, Tunisia, and Sweden. So only by nationality. And I was born in Belgium, but I don't have the nationality. Too much paperwork.
Golly, bro. Where did you spend the most time?
I probably spent the most time in Bangkok, Thailand. It was for my high school years. So I went to a private international school there, but I've lived in many different places. I've never lived in any of the countries I'm from.
I can imagine that it's a bit difficult because I'm not sure, so I'll ask, has that given you a bit of an identity crisis? Because you're growing up somewhere where you're not from, and you're basically different than everybody else. So how did you feel inside, and then how were you perceived by your classmates or your friends?
Well, to answer your question simply, yes. It's actually that you mentioned me feeling different to everybody else, because I think it was a mix of me feeling too different and too similar. I speak French, but I've never lived there. I don't speak Swedish, never lived there. I visited maybe like 3 or 4 times to visit my grandma. Tunisia's the country where I probably visited the most because we have a big family home there that we congregate to. And for the first 18 or 19 years of my life, we went there at least around twice a year, summer, winter. But I don't know the culture. I don't really speak the language, the dialect. So I don't really have any place I can call home at all. I think, you know, like things of home for me, it's like everyone's like, home is where the heart is, home is where your family is, whatever. Like I think it's all those things. It's not just one, right? Like they're not mutually exclusive. With some people, I relate more and less, based on where I lived in the world and how much I know about those cultures and stuff, which is understandable. Like I think a big part about figuring out who you are as a person is developing your own roots. You can't really do that if you move around like every year and a half when you're a kid, you know. So it's kind of difficult for me to develop like a sense of self, like who am I, where am I from. There's this term that gets thrown around a lot called third culture kid. From my understanding, it's kids who've either moved around a lot or who are multinational. If you look at those kind of people, what I've gone through, like it's a bit on the more extreme end, but it's very similar for a lot of people.
In terms of making friends for you, how was that in Thailand, or I guess wherever you live, because you move so often? How has it been for you in terms of making deep connections or even lifelong connections?
Truth be told, I actually don't have any. I don't think I have any. I think I have like maybe one. Okay. Which, it's fine. Like at the end of the day, those are the kind of people that count most. But if you look at it this way, usually it's from the ages of 0 to 12 that a child learns how to form relationships, how to talk to people, how to trust people, what is trust. And that comes with time, interacting with the same people for them to earn your trust, for them to lose it, for them to become friends, maybe more than friends over time as they get to know each other. And that obviously requires stability, staying in the same place. To put it mildly, like by the time I was 11, I'd already lived in 8 different places. So I didn't have any of that stability at all. And I'm still learning because, I'm only 22, it's only been 4 years, objectively not that long. And it's been a journey to say the least. And like I said, I've made a lot of mistakes and I still am, but that's kind of the whole point of learning.
The topic of this video is essentially the brutal truth of travel. And I think that brutal truth is it gets very, very lonely, right? So for you being essentially raised and forced as like a nomad type of person, right? Has it been lonely for you, and how has that affected you in terms of your growth growing up?
It's a very interesting question. I think probably one of the most salient or most important memories I have of my youth was always leaving the countries that we left. Like I don't really remember the friends I had. Like I always remember just being in like a ball of tears every time we left. But it is lonely, given the fact that I was highly introverted. And what that meant was because of the timeline, I went from being 100% introverted, and then I started being too extroverted. But that became a problem because in university, I had to learn a fine balance, because it got to a point where unless I had some kind of large or semi-large social interaction in the day, if I didn't have that, I couldn't sleep. Like it gave me genuine anxiety to be alone, understanding what it is to be a friend to someone. Because a lot of the things I learned about how to be a friend and how to be a good person in general, like I had to learn that by myself. I had to learn a very delicate balance of enjoying time out with other people and enjoying time with myself.
There are many great points that Adam touched upon, but the one that stood out the most is when he said building friendships comes with time. As a nomad, time is something you lack as you are consistently moving from place to place. A year may seem long, but it can go by pretty fast, especially when you're in a new environment. This is why it's so important to learn how to live in the present. I will post a full interview with Adam in my next video, so you can check out his full take on his life experiences and how he navigated through a nomadic upbringing. But I want to leave you guys with a few things about travel. I think it's important to understand that only the few people who do experience an expat lifestyle actually understands how it changes you. Yes, you have amazing experiences and learn so many great things, but with such knowledge comes a new mindset. Before you embark on your expat lifestyle, you have to be prepared to realize that this is the last time your friends will recognize you as the current you. At the same time, their rate of change may be minimal, since they will stay in the same bubble. However, at the end of the day, not only do you and your hometown friends grow apart, but you have to come to terms with realizing that the people you meet overseas will be temporary. That's why it's important to live in the moment and cherish the good times that you spend with others, regardless of the relationship outcome.